You are out here thinking your tax refund is free money from the government. That is just your own cash coming home after the IRS held it hostage all year with zero interest. And somebody actually told you that leasing a car is the smart move. Congratulations, you are renting a vehicle forever and building exactly $0 of equity. Oh, and following your passion? The bills do not care about your passion. We are exposing 25 financial lies that have been keeping Americans in debt for decades. And number 14 is going to make you mad at your own Costco membership. Smash that subscribe button if your wallet just felt personally attacked. 1. Long before anyone had a credit score to worry about, a financial seminar convinced an entire generation that you had to earn more money before you could start saving. That single idea has drained more bank accounts than almost any bad purchase ever could. Someone earning $40,000 a year and saving $200 a month is quietly beating someone earning triple that who spends every dollar. Lifestyle inflation grows exactly as fast as your paycheck allows it to. The order you do things in matters more than the number on your paycheck. Waiting for some magic income level before saving just leaves people broke with nicer car insurance. 2. Somewhere inside a bank boardroom, an executive invented the rumor that carrying a small balance actually helps your credit score. That one lie has cost American cardholders billions of dollars in unnecessary interest over the years. Payment history makes up 35% of your credit score, and your balance barely factors into it. Paying the statement off in full every single month is the real winning strategy here. Millions of people spent years feeding banks extra interest because debt got dressed up as some kind of virtue. The credit score never rewarded that sacrifice, it just quietly collected the bill. 3. Real estate agents built an entire industry on convincing Americans that renting is just throwing money away every single month without exception. A mortgage actually bundles interest, property taxes, PMI HOA dues, maintenance, and surprise repairs that renters simply never have to deal with. Renters keep every one of those dollars free to invest somewhere else entirely instead. In most major American cities, renting and investing the difference has quietly outperformed buying for 3 straight decades running. The house was never the guaranteed win everyone assumed it to be without question. 4. Wall Street brochures blurred the line between investing and gambling until most Americans stopped seeing much difference between the two at all. Picking individual stocks is speculating, no matter how confident the person doing it happens to feel about it. Buying a total market index fund is buying fractional ownership in thousands of businesses all at once instead. One approach is a casino dressed up in a suit and tie for the occasion. The other is the closest thing to a proven wealth-building machine that actually exists for regular people. 5. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, most Americans absorb the idea that budgeting means never spending money on anything fun again. A budget is really just a document that tells someone exactly how much fun money they are cleared to spend guilt-free. People without budgets are usually the ones panic-checking their balance before every restaurant bill and still ending the month completely confused. The budget was never the villain everyone assumed it to be growing up. It was actually the permission slip nobody realized they already had the whole time. 6. College brochures spent decades repeating the line that student loan debt is always worth it because education is automatically an investment. That statement only holds true when the resulting degree produces income that actually justifies the original cost involved. $180,000 in loans for a $36,000 starting salary is not an investment by any reasonable definition. It is a generational financial trap with a diploma stapled awkwardly on top of it. The math has to actually work, or the entire deal quietly falls apart from the very beginning. 7. Financial firms spent decades convincing millions of Americans that real wealth requires hiring a professional advisor before anything meaningful can even begin. A simple 3-fund index portfolio covering total U.S. market, international, and bonds, has beaten over 90% of professionally managed funds across the last 30 years. Anyone can open that account this very afternoon without needing permission from anybody at all. No advisor is required, and no minimum balance stands in the way of starting today. The gatekeeping was never actually necessary in the first place for regular investors. 8. Luxury car commercials quietly built the assumption that high earners never really need to worry about carrying debt at all. High income combined with high debt simply equals one layoff away from complete financial collapse without much warning. Income without financial margin is not real wealth at all, no matter how large the paycheck looks on paper. The salary just makes the whole feel more comfortable while someone quietly digs it deeper every month. Being broke in a nicer outfit was never actually the same thing as being financially free. 9. Car dealership finance offices figured out long ago that customers stop asking real questions the moment leasing gets called. The smarter financial move. Leasing is really just renting a depreciating asset forever, complete with mileage caps and wear fees waiting to surprise buyers later. Someone who leases builds zero equity and simply owes another payment the moment the previous lease finally ends. Buying used and driving it into the ground wins the math easily over a 10-year stretch of ownership. The lease just feels smarter because the monthly number looks smaller on paper at signing. 10. Nobody at the IRS ever had to advertise the idea that a tax refund counts as free bonus money from the government itself. A refund is really just someone's own money coming back after the government held it interest-free for an entire year. A large refund actually means the withholding was wrong the whole time and the person overpaid every single paycheck along the way. It feels like winning something exciting at the end of the year for most people. It is really just getting personal money handed back late with a bow tied around it for show. 11. Car dealerships across America figured out long ago that customers stopped doing math the moment monthly payments replaced total price in the conversation. That single shift in thinking is how people end up owing $52,000 on a truck that cost $41,000 3 years earlier. Monthly payment thinking quietly ignores total cost interest rate and how many years your cash flow stays handcuffed to one bill. The payment number was never actually the price everyone assumed it to be. It was just the number designed to make the real price stop mattering to the buyer. 12. Insurance salesmen spent decades realizing that wrapping a savings account inside a life insurance policy sounded far more impressive than it actually performed. Whole life and universal life policies bundle insurance with a savings feature that quietly delivers low returns and high fees year after year. Term life costs a fraction of the premium and leaves the rest of the money free to grow somewhere smarter instead. Buy term and invest the difference is not just a catchy slogan repeated online by strangers. It is simple math that keeps winning every single time somebody actually bothers to test it properly. 13. Hiring managers everywhere counted on the fact that most candidates would never push back on the very first number offered to them. Over 70% of employers actually have room above that opening offer and quietly expect a counteroffer to show up anyway. Every dollar left on the table during hiring compounds silently across an entire 40-year career without anyone noticing the damage. That small hesitation at the negotiating table can eventually turn into a gap worth hundreds of thousands of dollars later. Staying quiet was never actually the safe choice it seemed to be in the moment. 14. Warehouse stores built an entire business model around the idea that buying in bulk always saves everyone money no matter what gets purchased. That logic works fine for things people reliably use before they expire, and falls apart completely for everything else sitting forgotten on a shelf. Half of America still has a 48-count pack from some random year that will never actually get finished. Bulk buying quietly became a psychology trap, wearing the costume of a smart financial deal for years. The real savings only show up if the product gets used, and not simply purchased and forgotten. 15. HR departments everywhere quietly labeled the 401k match as a nice little perk instead of the urgent opportunity it actually represents for workers. An employer match delivers an instant 50 to 100% return before the market even does anything on its own accord. Failing to capture that match in full remains one of the most expensive mistakes millions of American workers make every single year without realizing it. It was never really a bonus tucked quietly into a benefits packet somewhere in the paperwork. It is closer to free money sitting there with a quiet deadline attached to it. 16. Financial advisors everywhere spent years telling nervous 30-year-olds that catching up on retirement savings in their 40s would be simple enough later. The math tells a much harsher story than that reassuring sentence ever did to anyone who actually ran the numbers. $200 a month starting at 25 beats $600 a month starting at 42, under a standard 7% return. Compound interest never actually rewards effort, the way most people casually assume that it should reward it. It only rewards the date someone actually started, and those early years can never be bought back later on. 17. Side hustle influencers spent years convincing an entire generation that a side hustle alone will set anyone financially free eventually. Most side hustles actually clear only $200 to $400 a month before taxes and before the burnout even sets in. That money only matters if every single dollar goes straight to debt payoff or investing consistently. The moment it funds lifestyle creep instead, the hustle just quietly raised someone's baseline expenses. The extra income was never the finish line everyone assumed it to be from the start. 18. Graduation speeches everywhere repeated the line that following your passion automatically guarantees financial success down the road. The money actually follows market demand, rare skills, and leverage, instead of following feelings, no matter how sincere they are. That passion advice has pushed millions of Americans into low-paying fields while leaving them servicing debt taken on to pursue it. Someone can love a hobby and monetize a skill without those two things ever needing to be the same thing. The dream job speech quietly skipped the part where bills still need to get paid. 19. Financial commentators everywhere spent years insisting that an emergency fund sitting quietly in savings is constantly losing the battle against inflation. High-yield savings accounts currently pay 4 to 5% APY, which actually tracks or beats inflation right now. More importantly, an emergency fund was never meant to be an investment in the first place at all. It is insurance against being forced into high-interest debt during an unexpected crisis moment. Liquidity is the actual product being purchased here, and it is quietly doing its job perfectly. 20. Generations of American parents repeated the idea that owning a home is the only real path to generational wealth. Homeownership can absolutely build wealth in appreciating markets under the right circumstances and timing. But a stock portfolio held for 30 years historically outperforms real estate net of costs in most American markets. Generational wealth actually comes from invested assets and financial literacy passed down through families over time. It was never really about the deed hanging framed on someone's living room wall. 21. Financial planners for decades pushed the idea that paying off low-interest debt aggressively should always be the top priority for everyone. A 3% mortgage sitting inside a market, returning 9% average annually, means every extra dollar toward that mortgage costs 6 cents of lost return. Math-optimized debt payoff actually means attacking high-rate debt first while investing aggressively and letting low-rate debt sit patiently. Rate matters far more than balance, no matter how uncomfortable that leftover mortgage number feels sitting there. Paying off the wrong debt first was never actually the disciplined move everyone assumed it to be. 22. Retail stores across America built entire checkout counters around convincing shoppers that a big sign-up discount was too good to pass up. A 20% off coupon on a $300 purchase saves $60 exactly one single time at checkout. The average store card charges 28 to 31% APR on any balance left sitting afterward. One carried balance wipes out years of those discounts almost instantly without much effort at all. These cards were engineered from the very beginning to be opened impulsively and quietly forgotten at the shopper's expense. 23. Generations of Americans grew up believing that net worth only really counts when it comes from physical assets you can actually touch and see. Brokerage accounts, Roth IRAs, and 401ks are worth exactly as much as the number sitting on the screen while compounding tax advantage the entire time. Americans who distrust invisible assets often pile into gold, collectibles, or real estate instead without realizing the trade-off involved. Those choices frequently come with higher fees, higher taxes, and higher storage costs for noticeably lower returns overall. The number on the screen was never actually less real than the gold sitting quietly in a safe somewhere. 24. Pop culture spent decades insisting that financial freedom is only realistic for people who already started out with money to begin with. The majority of American millionaires are actually first generation, with no trust fund, no inheritance, and no early head start of any kind. They got there instead through income consistency, spending below their means, and simply staying invested in the market over time. The belief that the entire game is rigged against regular people quietly became the most expensive lie on this entire list. Nobody handed them the finish line, and yet somehow they still found their way there eventually. 25. Polite society decided somewhere along the way that talking about money is rude and that personal finance should always stay private. This cultural norm actually benefits banks, employers, and lenders far more than it ever benefits the person staying quiet about their own finances. Employees who never discuss salaries with each other consistently end up getting underpaid compared to those who do. People who never talk openly about money mistakes tend to quietly repeat those same mistakes alone in silence. The taboo was never really about privacy at all. It always just kept the financially illiterate isolated from what actually works. 25 financial lies down, and every single one of them was designed to keep regular people confused, broke, and quietly convinced the system was too complicated to beat. It never was. The people who win with money are not smarter than you. They just stopped believing the myths everyone else accepted without question. So here is a real question for the comments. Which one of these 25 lies did you personally believe was true until this exact video? Drop the number below and let us roast it together. If this video busted a few myths in your brain, smash that subscribe button, hit like, and share this with the one friend who still thinks a car lease is a good deal. This is Liebuster, and we are just getting started tearing down what you were taught to believe. Stick around, because the next video on your screen right now busts even more lies you have probably trusted your entire life.